morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome to this program. Tonight, we'd like to discuss the issue that have been raised by President Duma Boko of Botswana regarding specifically the number of Zimbabweans who are going to Botswana as economic refugees. I think he raises some important points here. And I'll just play the short clip when he's discussing about that particular issue, stop it, and then we'll play the rest of it later on. If you could bear with me.
We've got to approach the issue of Zimbabwe somewhat dispassionately, leave our emotions out of it, and deal with the facts. What are the facts? The facts are there is, without any doubt, an influx of people from Zimbabwe into Botswana. They end up taking up the most menial of jobs. As a matter of fact, many of the jobs that they end up taking are jobs that our own people are not desirous. There's no serious appetite on our citizens for these jobs. And there's nothing wrong with not liking a particular job. And therefore, when an opening arises, you're not interested. But we also must acknowledge that there will be somebody else, either out of desperation or whatever reason, who will be interested in taking this job. And so that person comes in without any doubt. How did this person come in? They came in illegally. But they are doing the job. They are already here. What do? We can choose to spend money and send this person back. The moment you leave this person at the border, they cross back, and by the evening they are here. So are we succeeding? No. How then do we deal with this situation? We could deal with it and when they are illegal like that, because they are hiding, they end up involved in crime. They end up exploited. And this exploitation makes it even more unappealing because they will take this job for next to nothing. And so the employers, those who have these jobs, who are hiring them, prefer them to citizens because the citizen will want more. So there is a demand for people who will work for a pittance. So they themselves are exploited. Why are they exploited? They are outside the protection of the law because in the first place, when they came in, they placed themselves outside the protection of the law. So we want to deal with this thing and say, let us allow you to come in legally. This is not to go and invite and say, just come and run us over. No.
It means you are not saying open borders.
No. We're not saying that. We are saying we recognize the challenge. Let us deploy strategies and approaches that are appropriately fashioned to deal with so that they do not pose a security risk to us and to our people. Then they can be within the law. They can be controlled either by way of a temporary work and residence permit or a much longer term work and residence permit. We can control, we can manage them, we can account.
Well, Ben, what do you think of that one?
Good day to you and good day to our viewers. Thank you for joining us. You know, it's a good thing to want to open the borders, so that Zimbabweans can come and work, and take up the jobs that other, communities or countries or citizens don't want to take. But we have to look at the facts like he stated. We have in Zimbabwe an unemployment rate that is almost close to 90%. And we have people leaving Zimbabwe in huge numbers every single day. be it going to South Africa, be it going to Botswana or Zambia or wherever, you know, is it going to be, you know, possible to control the number of people that will actually want to take up this offer? My answer is I don't think so. You know, that is just a temporary solution. South Africa has tried that, and they now see, you know, that it cannot be sustained. The number of Zimbabweans that are crossing over because of, like you said, you know, economic hardships, you know, and so forth, it's huge. So for me personally, I think it is just a case of, you know, postponing the inevitable. We are not looking at the problem head on. We are choosing to meander around a bit about the bush, yet the problem we know.
Well, I have to agree with you that this is not really a solution. As much as every Zimbabwean out there who is desperate would see it as at least an immediate solution to their needs. Because if you're unemployed in Zimbabwe, the economy is getting worse and worse and worse. And you find yourself in a situation like he has described, where you go to Botswana and they are paid pittance, but it's better than nothing, and you accept it. That shows the level of desperation. And so for those people to be told that they will be getting permits to stay and permits to work is absolutely the best news ever. So for the individual concerned, this is the way forward. But I agree, as a nation, the people of Botswana will find themselves in a situation where it's not sustainable. Zimbabwe has a population of 15 million, and Botswana, I think, had a population of 5 million the last time I checked. So even if we say 2.5 million Zimbabweans end up in Botswana, that is an incredibly significant number of foreigners. And I don't think that nation will find that sustainable. South Africa is a much bigger population, 60 million. And according to some figures, 3 million Zimbabweans are in South Africa. Maybe combined with other foreigners from other African countries, for the sake of argument, another 2 million. So you're still looking at 5 million foreigners in a country with 60 million, and already it's causing serious tension in that country. I think Botswana, I agree, will also sooner or later find this unsustainable. I think we're just kicking the can down the road when we should be looking for solutions, particularly us, the people of Zimbabwe. While we sort ourselves out, Botswana may give us a way out to relieve the pressure. But that should be very clear to us that this is only a temporary measure, and we should really be seriously looking at how are we going to resuscitate the Zimbabwe economy. It's not that Zimbabwe is poor. It has resources. It's not that Zimbabweans have been unemployed. In 1980, we had so many industries in Zimbabwe. All of them, or most of them, have since closed down because of corruption and gross mismanagement. We cannot overemphasize that Zimbabweans must address this fundamental problem of bad governance. That point cannot be overemphasized.
I agree with you there. I mean, we, you know, when you discuss about, you know, inviting, you know, citizens from another country, like you said, you know, Botswana is this population is not as big, and you have to look at your infrastructure. You know, once Zimbabweans are there, some will fall sick. You know, they will need health care. You know, they will need social assistance and so forth. Will Botswana be able to manage all that? It's not just about giving people work. And remember, you know, if you're giving them peanuts, they may not be able to afford some of these, you know, things that are being charged, you know, at a rate where somebody is getting paid like normal wages, you know. It's a good thing to want to help, but we have to always look at the bigger picture. And for me, the bigger picture, what comes to mind is the fact that we all know what the problem is with Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe is plagued with rigged elections, and from rigged elections comes no accountability and, you know, mismanagement. Zimbabwe is ranked one of the most corrupt countries out there, and that is the main problem. And this has also been highlighted by the SADC Observer Mission report, which we and Botswana and South Africa and, you know, all the other Southern African, you know, countries are, you know, affiliated to. That report stands to guide us, to show us where the exact problem is and what needs to be fixed. That is the permanent solution. And unless we deal with that, we look into that report and really try and work out a way to fix the problems that were highlighted, we will see more Zimbabweans moving into all these Southern African countries illegally. That is the truth. I appreciate what the president of Botswana is trying to do. It's a temporary relief. You know, a lot of Zimbabweans will welcome it because, I mean, you know, a desperate person would be happy for any kind of assistance. It's like giving, you know, a torn jersey to somebody that has been freezing the whole time. You know, they appreciate that torn jersey, but it is not the solution. The solution for Zimbabwe is to address the problem of rigged elections. And that's where I think he has to be bold enough to state that.
Well, he did address the issue of multi-party uh, systems. Let's just listen to the last bit of this interview.
To resolve these issues and resolve them amicably. And indeed, between Botswana, even between Botswana and Zimbabwe, if there's a niggling trade issue, we will discuss it and we will resolve it. So what is important, and this is what I keep raising, because I've said this government, this administration, this people's administration must be agile. It must be quick to realize there's a problem and to examine accurately, using evidence, the nature of the problem, diagnose, and then do a proper strategy and implement, evaluate, and make sure that the strategy works. If it doesn't work, change it. But we need to address problems in a manner that is proactive, that is agile. And so in relation to those, we're going to get off quickly, deal with all these problems and try and resolve them, because we need to build this economy. We need to turn it around and turn it around quickly.
You invited opposition parties in the SADC region. What was the reasoning behind it?
It's democracy. That's the reasoning. They are part of the democratic process. They are part of peacekeeping and the maintenance of peace and harmony in their respective countries. If they are not recognized, if they are not appreciated as part of the democratic process, then we are creating a situation for other than democratic means of accessing power. So once you have them come and they realize we are part of this, we are the opposition, we are now in power. Other countries must realize at some point the opposition will be in power. Do you want to have angry people, vengeful people because you abused them, come into office and start doing the same to you? No, there's no need to abuse each other. Even aside from political competition, there's no need. So we need to appreciate all of them, appreciate the ruling parties as well as those who are aspiring to rule, because they will be in power one day. And there's nothing better than having all of them at one table laughing, and then they go and compete.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. What do you say to that one, Ben?
The most
Yes, he spoke about, dialogue, having the opposition and, the ruling party come together and, try and sort out, differences. And again, to me, that is not the problem, that is not a solution. And I don't see it as a problem, We've had a GNU and we have had MDC and ZANU PF sitting and laughing together and doing, various activities and whatever together. That did not solve the problem of Zimbabwe. The problem of Zimbabwe is that we have a restrictive political environment, a damaged system. And again, I say, this is evident in the SADC Observer Mission Report and all other mission reports. They stated the same thing. Those are the things that we need to look at. There's no amount of opposition coming together and ZANU PF coming together that can sort out our problem. We need to fix our political environment. Not for today, even for tomorrow. Because once you have those strong institutions that have been built and that are already standing, that are already present, no one in the future can just come and just bulldoze, those structures, because they are strong. They have been cemented. That is what Zimbabwe needs, and that is what Zimbabwe lacks right now. We do not have strong institutions. For example, we have a ZEC that is very much ZANU PF in all but name. And this has been brought up. So having the opposition and ZANU PF come is not going to sort out ZEC. It didn't sort it out during the GNU. Why would he sort it out now? So for me, I think again, it's kicking the can down the road and not addressing the real problem.
I think his views on multi-party democracy are the right ones. Here is a leader of a country that has been politically very stable. Botswana is one of the few countries in Africa that have exercised free, fair, and credible elections and have allowed a real, meaningful democratic space to exist. And when you compare and contrast his views with those of Mnangagwa, that's when you realize why Zimbabwe is in a mess. Here is Mnangagwa dismissing the reports from SADC and the AU that Zimbabwe's elections in 2023 were not free, fair, and credible.
Vana vakatuka ZANU-PF kana ini ndonyanyisa kufara kuita zvakanaka. Ukavona vavengi vako vachikurumbidza nekuchikanganisa, ukavona vachiti ZANU-PF yakaipa, farai. You are doing great things for your country. Hongu takaita maelections edu kuna vamwe vaitaura zvisina musoro zvikanzi maelections anafamba zvakanaka ndezvavo.
The truth of the matter is, Zimbabwe is a dysfunctional system. Zimbabwe's political system is totally dysfunctional. We have got, on the one hand, ZANU-PF that believes, whose leaders believe they have the divine right to rule the country. And on the other hand, we have the opposition who, although they were elected to implement the democratic reforms to end the ZANU-PF dictatorship, they have since succumbed to ZANU-PF bribery and corruption. And now they are nothing more than ZANU-PF Team B, playing for ZANU-PF Team A to win and to have legitimacy. Zimbabwe's political system is totally dysfunctional. And I think we, as the people of Zimbabwe, need to identify that problem and realize that nothing of any substance can be achieved until we implement the democratic reforms and dismantle this dysfunctional system. I've often compared Zimbabwe's political system to a sewage pond. You do not get quality fish from a sewage pond. Neither ZANU-PF nor the opposition. So what we need to do is to drain the sewage pond first by implementing the democratic reforms. Only then can we expect quality leaders to emerge. Zimbabwe it's got only just a line in the sand to show the difference between Zimbabwe and Botswana. If Botswana can have a healthy and functioning democratic political system, I don't see why Zimbabwe cannot do so if we implement the reforms and give ourselves a fighting chance. At the present moment, both ZANU-PF and the MDC-CCC are not interested in changing the political system. They are partners now in continue this continued failed political system. Mnangagwa has got the opposition on the line. They've swallowed his bait, line, and sinker. They will never change. It's us, the electorate. We've got to realize we have a compromised political system and seek to change it. Thank you very much. Ben, do you want to give your closing remarks?
In closing, I would want to agree with you to say that, unfortunately with Zimbabwe, we don't have strong institutions like how Botswana has, and has had throughout, a long period of time. We have failed to establish those institutions, and unfortunately, we had tasked the opposition, MDC, to spearhead our reform program. But unfortunately, like you said, they are now, eating and chatting together with ZANU-PF, which now renders us basically nowhere. We haven't even started the whole process. It is now up to us to see this is what has happened, because a lot of us have still not figured out that the MDC, CCC, and ZANU-PF have joined forces to keeping us in this here desperate situation. And it is for us to come to that realization that we need to pull ourselves out of this mud, that we can actually get ourselves out of this mess. So unless we realize and unless we drive ourselves out of this mud, no one else will. And the good thing I feel is, we have help. Here is the president of, Botswana trying to help us. I mean, foreign help or help from the international community, they can do so much. But we have to spearhead our own freedom. They are there to help and not the other way around. We expect so much from them. Why are they not doing this? But we are doing absolutely nothing ourselves. I think this is where we are failing to grasp the other concepts. We have to fight for our own freedom. And that fight should be now. We have to start now. And they can help. The help is there. But we have to show that we want the change first. So let's think about it. The opportunity is there. It is now for us to show the will, and then we can find our way out. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ben. And those who are able to join us, thank you very much. Hope we'll be able to do it again tomorrow night, 7 o'clock UK time, 8 o'clock Zimbabwean time. Good night.